Hi, my name is Drea. I'm a psychic medium, and this is Honey Breaks and Ghost Stories. It's been a while since we've done a video. If you're new here, we dabble with some honey and then we just yap about dead people. I've been a psychic medium my entire life. I have a few experiences that have honestly helped strengthen my gifts, and I essentially got into the paranormal world to kind of learn more about them. I was tired of being fearful and wanted to educate myself. With that being said, I do have a habit of ignoring spirits. So, before we jump into that, let's do a honey break and then we will talk about it because I may or may not have irritated a spirit quite recently. Got me. So this honey break, I really want to talk about this because I really haven't told many people about it. I've posted a little bit on TikTok and I've done some things for just essentially relationship building with the spirit. Brain seeking words. Anyways, so about a year ago, we had a spirit living with us, grandmother. She ended up moving and she resides elsewhere in town. I still get to see her from time to time, but she really doesn't, we don't talk anymore. One thing that she made, for sure certain was that she wasn't a huge fan of. That was weird. Super weird. My stuff stopped in the middle of recording. Anyways, so she wasn't a huge fan of bullet lights, and it was that moment where she asked if essentially I could take it with. She's sure that I was going to need it at some point, and I didn't quite understand why. Mind you, this was a year ago. So about a month ago, I really want to say it was about a month ago, we're laying in bed and we're watching Finding Nemo. Next thing I know, this starts blinking. We're nowhere near it. It's just sitting on our entertainment center in our bedroom. And we're really starting to question what's going on. So my husband gets up and he grabs it. He asks me, so how do you turn this on? I was like, well, you twist it. He goes, well, every night lately, I've been waking up and this has been twisted on. And I was like, huh, interesting. I was like, well, I haven't used it since grandmother was with us, so I pulled it out just for kind of shits and giggles, see if any of the apartment ghosts wanted to talk and communicate, and I wasn't necessarily expecting anything to happen. So we opted to moving it to the living room, where it can be seen on the camera, because I wanted to know if the light was just malfunctioning, really debunk this before moving forward, because personally here at home, I tend to tone spirits out. This is my safe space. This is also where I work, and I personally don't like having visitors here on a regular basis. It can get a little bit noisy. So I tend to tune them out. And I think that honestly irritated the spirit. Why, you may ask? Well, first day, we move it to the living room, it turns the light on, and I was like, oh, hey, hi, what's up? What can I do for you? We figure out that it wanted a movie turned back on. He asked specifically for Finding Nemo, and so I was like, all right, cool, we can do that for you. And after a few, I want to say, nights of pretty much asking what it wanted, asking if it needed something, we would end up popping on a movie. And I haven't had the spirit around in almost a week and a half, so I guess it's been a little bit over a month. Once we figured out it enjoyed interactive things, we started testing it. And not it as in the spirit, but testing what kind of things brought joy to the spirit. We had a couple scary things happen, and there's one point where I swear I need to pay more attention because this light turns on, and I quite frankly don't notice until a few hours later. I have to go onto our home camera to check and see when they turned it on. Except for one day we're standing there and my husband's yo-yoing and it just starts flashing. So I stop, I get super excited, and I'm like, oh my god, hi, hello. How are you? Who are you? Can you help me get to know you? Things like that. And I was asking if they could turn it on for yes and turn it off for no, and things were going fantastic. I personally was shocked because the spirit is so intelligent, but they're very hesitant on what they share. Made me a little bit nervous. Because what do you mean you enjoy kids' movies? And what do you mean you're able to let me know you'll respect my boundaries? And one of my big boundaries is stay away from the bathroom and give me my space if I'm getting ready for work. That's it. Beyond that, they're allowed to come and go as they please as long as they aren't fully messing with me. I'm not a fan of major hauntings. Not my thing, but we all have our preferences. I've watched too many scary movies, okay? And I'm not a huge, let me not reel towards something else because I will go into all of that. I have so many thoughts about the paranormal community, and I think that spirits can truly live and coexist. Look at that, my light's flickering. That's what the spirit does. They haven't been doing it with the light lately. They've been doing it with other lights. Anyways, I truly believe that spirits can coexist with humans and live with us harmoniously as long as we're respecting each other's boundaries. And while I understand I just totally reeled into almost something completely separate, I do think it's important, like, you understand why I don't want a lot of activity. A lot of activity essentially means that you're not paying attention when spirit needs you to pay attention. And so I like to ask them to hone it down to one specific tool so that I know what I can do and help them. That's my thing. So set boundaries. They said that they would respect them, and like things were fun. If my husband yo-yoed, they'd stop by, they would flicker the light. I'd be playing music in the morning and they would come through and they'd be like, hey, I like this, and they would turn the light on and off. It was so much fun, but it got to a point where they started turning the light on when I wasn't paying attention or I was asleep. I can't do anything if they're not communicating with me when we are actively in that moment. And this is also something that I've had conversations with them about, and my husband essentially explained, like, hey, you may have been a little overbearing. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you asked who they were, you asked where they were from, you asked all of these questions on a regular basis. I said, yeah, but I thought we were becoming friends. Was I wrong? I mean, we had a really scary event happen in our home a few weeks after, like, it was 2 to 3 weeks after I met this spirit, and I shit you not, the spirit came into the home and turned on the light as I'm sitting here having a panic attack. My husband's trying to figure out what just happened, And I see the light turn on and I'm like, hey, are you okay? That was scary. I know, I understand. Do you need anything? And it did what we do. On for yes, off for no. It turned it off and then turned it immediately back on. So I was like, all right, what do you need from me? We ended up putting on a movie for them. That, like, we've had this great thing going. So I thought we were friends. And then they stopped turning the light on brighter. It started doing faint things, and I would have to check the light, like, hey, is it still working? It does. It does work. It works. It absolutely works. Ah, my video just keeps cutting out. I love that for me. Oh my god. I accidentally broke my phone stand the other day, so we're working with what we have. Anyways, yeah, so I leave them there. I allow them to be involved, and I just haven't heard anything. I think I ignored them too much and then was a little overbearing. How embarrassing. I really do want to get to know them, though. I enjoy having this method, but I also, like, upon reflection, came to realize they might prefer different forms of communication, and that's something I'm working on. I don't really have alternative methods other than myself, and when I did Spirit Box the other night, they weren't answering me. They weren't being very cooperative, whoever came through. And I ended up being cussed out. So I got that pretty clearly. And I'm not ready to be sassed at again. I already feel embarrassed. They don't need to make me feel worse. Anyways, so that was this week's Honey Break and Ghost Stories. Thank you for being here. If you have ghost stories that you would like to have shared with other people, please feel free to reach out and we can talk about it. I am more than happy to share other people's stories as well, because I think the paranormal world is just so incredible. They all have so much personality because they were all once human. That personality doesn't go away. Instead, I think it might get brighter in death because there are less things to worry about. So they can have more fun. But if you have any recommendations on how to figure out who our ghost friend is, I would love to hear it. I'm at a loss at this point, but I am open to figuring it out. This is the first time I've truly been stumped, and I don't know what they want from me. I don't know if they're mad at me either. They just haven't been around. Although I say they haven't really been around, even though they definitely made this camera stop a couple times, and they do turn off my music if they aren't a fan of it, so I think they're figuring it out. I think they're figuring out how to communicate, and I love that. I love that. Maybe this is too hard for them, and I get that. But we gotta figure something out. So please leave your recommendations, your suggestions, anything. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see you at our next honey break.